Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring in Anthony Lee. Hello, Anthony. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yes, very good, very good. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about hacks. The term hacks is pretty much used quite broadly in different areas. Some are used to maybe sell courses, some are hacks, some are actually principles, some are not hacks. So I'll let you set up the conversation for today, Anthony. And let you take the lead on this. No, I'll chime in different areas, but I know that you want to get a few things off your chest.
Oh goodness. Yeah, it was funny when when you originally gave me the link and had me call in, you said I looked tired. Now I probably don't anymore. You got me fired up
Yeah,
talking
exactly,
about this stuff.
exactly.
Anyway, okay, well, the motivation behind I guess this topic for me, first and foremost, before we even get into talking about like what makes a hack and what's not a hack and marketing speak and how some people take advantage of that, the first thing I want to point out really has nothing to do with the gurus and those guys and what they're pushing, but more how the public is asking for information. One of the issues that I feel like I really want to educate people on is working for a major service provider in this industry. I get the question all the time, what's working now? And I always get like, it's almost like a demand from people that are asking me, what tips, what tricks, what new things are the big sellers doing? And when I can't give them something new, they kind of lose interest in the conversation. And this goes to the top. We'll be at events speaking on stage, and the event organizer will be like, I need you to give us, some fresh new like shortcut or loophole. And so the thing that I want to educate people on is marketing fundamentals haven't changed much. Now, yes, you can always discover new things, and a lot of that discovery comes with new features that, if we're talking about Amazon specifically, Amazon rolls out, and how to utilize and exploit those new features. That's new information, yes. But what I mean by marketing principles is everybody's looking for the magic bullet, right? Everybody's looking for that thing that they can do, and it makes everything work tomorrow. But the problem is when I tell them the exact same thing, that advice that we've been giving since 2014, they're like, no, that can't be it. I want to make a statement clear. Like, I'm making the statement, I'm etching it in stone. I want everybody to know. Optimizing your listing, okay, with good keywords. Now, the optimization rules change sometimes, back-end keywords changed from 2014 to now. But optimizing your listing, turning on sponsored product ads, and then running promotions specifically to target specific keywords to increase keyword ranking. That's how people do it. That. I mean, like, that hasn't changed. That's how people do it. And I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. There's no secret magical thing that people are doing now that's different. That is what I know a lot of really big sellers, and guess what they're doing? Optimizing their listing, turning on advertising, running promotions, and targeting specific keywords for ranking. Like, it hasn't changed.
But
So I just wanted to get that out there.
that's cool. But let's get the bias out of the way in the sense that you are working for, you work with a company that is based around ranking. So you haven't got to do promotions on Amazon. Let's be clear on that. There
Okay.
are like, say for instance, you go wide with your products, you're selling 2 or 3 units a day, but you've got hundreds of products. That may be your model. Then you wouldn't necessarily do a promo. You're doing it into the long tail. Does that make sense? But on the whole, if you're a private label seller going into a competitive arena and requiring visibility on page one, then you are going to be required to utilize tools.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. Let's get the bias part out of the way. You don't actually have to do all 3 of those at all. Plenty of big brands prove that you don't need an optimized listing, especially if you're a big brand. There are plenty of people out there that don't actually do sponsored product ads or PPC of any kind. And then, yes, of course, it's not a requirement to do promotions. It's just, I think by now, anybody that knows me, and for those that don't know me, I've been speaking on stage about this exact topic for a while, and those are always the three fundamental things that the successful sellers that I've ever encountered do. Those three things. And I just wanted to point out that while some of the rules are tweaked a little bit as Amazon changes its terms and changes the features that it offers, the fundamentals have not changed. And the big dogs in the space or in every niche, they're not doing any new magical thing that's just, oh well, completely flip the rules on its head. So that was the point I wanted to make. But now we can get into like actually talking about like what's a hack and what's not a hack and who's calling them hacks and why they're called hacks. And
so let me start with one here. Turning on PPC isn't a hack. Turning on PPC is turning on PPC. Are we clear on that?
Yeah, that's a marketing fundamental, I would say.
Yeah, but there's another one. I think you mentioned this before, like lightning deals. We had Lee Ran on. Now, when we discussed lightning deals, we did discuss certain hacks, protocols, whatever. But one of them, for instance, is turning on or utilizing a lightning deal itself isn't a hack. But opening up a number of browser tabs and then firing off to set up multiple lightning deals is a hack or a loophole.
Yes.
Isn't it? And
that is a hack. That's a loophole.
The two. Yeah.
Just telling people, hey, lightning deals are available. That's not, that's not a loophole. To call it that is kind of dishonest. And there's nuances too. Like if you tell people, oh, well, you can turn on as many as you want. And then the answer to that is if you have variations, like that's also, you know what I mean? Like that's not a loophole. Like that's, you won't know that unless you have variations. And if you do have variations, then you'll find that out. And anyway, but I think some of that can get lost in semantics, right? Because it's really just marketing speak sometimes. I don't want to get too like, yes, obviously I have a problem with gurus, especially gurus who charge courses for information that's not very useful. That's a pet peeve of mine, but I don't want to be too hard on people who use marketing speak. Like, for example, we were just discussing one of the previous seller sessions. You had the whole thing was about these hacks that this particular big seller was sharing. Yeah. But the information was good. I wouldn't necessarily call it a hack per se, some of the stuff he was sharing, but they were really good tips, and that I'm cool with. So I don't really care what he calls them. You know what I mean? Because that was good advice that he gave. Like,
no, totally. I mean, that's why we've been very stringent on our content over the last year or so, and that's why we've offered lots of diverse areas in terms of marketing, because there is only so much you can cover. So once you've got out listing optimization, once you've done copywriting, once you've done Amazon PPC, AMS, then you're just going to move into updates, aren't you? And changes in terms of protocol or changes in the rules on Amazon to what you can do. But yeah, we've been very stringent on the material that we released. I mean, there's a couple of seller sessions that we've done, which I dumped because they were crap. And so moving forward now, we've coming up to our first birthday of seller sessions. And obviously we're known for covering a lot of marketing stuff. And I looked at it and I'm thinking we're going to be doing, say, 2 shows a week. There's not enough information out there to do 2 shows a week of credible quality. So this is why we're diversifying. This is why we've got the failure series. This is why we have rate and rents and all these different options, because we want to provide good content.
With internet marketers, sometimes it feels like there's just not an upper limit. Like there's no point that they can go where they go, whoa, maybe that was a little too far. I should probably not say that, and it baffles me. So these guys will go out there and they will sell you the moon. And what they're really giving you is, it's not even, it's the same stuff, but it's not even in a prettier package. It's just like, like they grabbed a bunch of roses out of the rose bush and their neighbor's house and said, here. You're like, I could have done that. Why did you just charge me $500 for that? But that goes back to the same thing that we've said before and that we always tell people: vet your experts and hold them to a high standard, even if they're not as big of an expert. Like, just make sure they do actually understand what it is they're trying to teach you. But and then obviously beware of the marketing speak. But ultimately, I think the lesson that I've been trying to get across today is, don't be looking for a magic bullet. And if somebody tries to give you one, be real skeptical. What we have out there as good information is information that is consistent across all channels, right? All the experts, when you get them in one room, and you've done it before, you've actually had a bunch of people who are all high level sellers and respected minds on the same hangout. And there's certain things that it would come out and people, and they'd all go, yep, that's right. And then there's, yep, that's right. And it's like, well, yeah, it's because the information is consistent. And the reason is because the marketing fundamentals don't change. So you have consistent information, and then good content comes out of people exploring, those fundamentals in new ways, right? So rather than I try to stay away from anybody that talks about loopholes. I mean, sometimes there is a legitimate loophole, like that multiple browser window thing for lightning deals, which I've heard doesn't work anymore. It's really cool for the ones that found it when it did, and that was a legit loophole that I think is perfectly okay to take advantage of. But some people try to make the whole of the business out of loopholes and invent loopholes that aren't really there. And sometimes these loopholes can be dangerous. Like, always be aware of the terms of service, because no loophole is worth getting suspended over at all. That would just be stupid.
Why don't we bring this up now? Because obviously this is a common thing. We're talking about launch services or blast services. You've been in business for a number of years, and the argument's always going to be is that you're manipulating rank. Let's get this out in the open now. Like, there is terms of service. There's the terms of service how you understand it. Other companies, other launch services that are all still in business. Nothing's changed, and they've been in business for years. What do we say to the people that saying that is against TOS? Where is the misinformation or the misguidance or the grey areas or the lines drawn here?
Well, here's the thing you have to understand. Amazon purposely makes their terms of service vague so that they can do broad, sweeping, attacks on certain things when they want a policy change. Like, they do it, it's by design. So when everybody's trying to interpret these terms, the first thing you have to understand is that Amazon created it to not be able to be interpreted. So any interpretation is going to be speculation. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. It doesn't matter how much of an expert it is. It doesn't even matter if the person worked at Amazon, okay? Because Amazon is such a big company. People who even work, unless they're Jeff Bezos, people who work there aren't even going to have a full understanding of what Amazon's intention was. They'll have a better understanding, but you can't take their word as law either. With that said, the only thing I can really do is kind of share my experience and the experience I know that others have had in our own interpretation of the terms. When the terms originally changed a couple of years ago, a couple of us, not just us, but there were other services that were very proactive in following up with escalating seller support tickets to kind of get the best information possible. As many correspondence as possible, all through email, so it's documented. Escalate, and look for consistent patterns in the information. And we were able to confirm through our own research and the research conducted by competing services that Amazon's primary concern, while the terms are still vague, what they were attempting to stop was certain black hat tactics, particularly the manipulation of rank, BSR being the rank that they're referring to, okay, right, because they never talk about keywords or URLs ever, and they still haven't. But BSR being the rank they're referring to, the manipulation of BSR through false sales, because people were gaming the system by having hundreds of seller accounts, of buyer accounts, like one guy, 150 buyer accounts, buys from you 1, 2, 3, 4 units from each buyer account. This is inflated rank manipulation because the sales aren't real. Even if they were a real transaction, the sales weren't real because real buyers didn't go out, uniquely search and find the product or be given a URL for the product and then purchase it. And that was they made it pretty clear that that's what they were intending to squash out, which is why the language of excessive units came in. We asked, other people asked, and every time we got the same answer, that they just didn't want us to give out too many units to the same buyer. Okay, that makes sense now, but they left it vague in case they needed to squash any other bugs that might come up, and we understand that. But essentially that's what it appeared that they were looking at. Now, since then, a lot of people have brought up the fact that they're concerned because Amazon is clear in their language that they don't want you manipulating rank. But again, they never say keyword rank. They never say anything about URLs. We believe the reason that is because that's not a problem they're having. They can handle that issue with the algorithm, and they have. Notice a lot of the URL options and a lot of those little hacks that used to work 3 years ago don't work as well anymore. It's because that algorithm is pretty damn smart. What they're trying to stop, though, is inflating or deflating, rather, BSR through not legitimate transactions. See, a legitimate launch service, and I will never say we're the only ones, because there are some great services out there, in fact, and I can say that because I know that we work really hard to compete with them. A legitimate and good launch service actually facilitates the sale of of product through real transactions. That means that real buyers with real accounts use real money, because these are not free. That's why I don't like it when people use the term giveaway, because it's misleading. These are not actually giveaways. These are deep discount sales, but they're still sales with real money. That means that Amazon gets their fee. That means that pick and pack is still paid. That means that referral is still given, and the seller probably loses a little bit of money on that if they discount it really low. But none, that's their choice, their business. The point is that's actually happening. And then what that does is Amazon willingly and freely then decides to allow that to affect rank. And they don't have to if they don't want to, but they've chosen to. And I think they sent a clear message when they created that storefront URL and then let everybody use it. And it became one of the most powerful URLs for ranking. Like, Amazon gives us that URL. You don't think they know what it does? I think they pretty much painted the picture right there that promotions are cool. It's kosher. We like it because it means more people are coming to our website and spending money with us, and the customers are enjoying the fact that they're getting, deep discount product.
And Amazon's still getting paid.
And the customer experience is not actually being manipulated, because here's the thing. If your product doesn't get organic sales over time, guess what happens? It doesn't rank anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick the landing. It doesn't stay there. It will go down, and you can blast away all your inventory, but over time, that algorithm, those averages keep stacking up. If you keep getting 0 sales days, 4 or 5 months down the road, you can blast 100 units a day and not make it past page 4. And Amazon knows that. So, you know what I mean? Like, it really is a win-win situation for everybody to utilize all of the tools that Amazon gives you. And yes, I'm referring to blasting as a tool Amazon gives you, because they gave you the ability to create promotion codes, single-use promotion codes, no doubt, for a reason. Why do you think they did that?
Totally. Okay, so back on the hacks, away from the ranking. I just wanted to clarify that bit quickly, because obviously working for a service in that domain, there's always that argument, well, it's against terms of service, or these guys are going to be out of business in the next few months, and it never happens. And obviously the aspect of when people talk about inflation, you can say you're inflating rank by giving away units at a deep discount price. I mean, there's semantics there, but the flip side is what you're saying is that you don't want to have people owning multiple accounts in the essence of purchasing these at deep discount for ranking through the manipulation of having multiple accounts when you're only meant to have one buyer account.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so back to hacks. What about this one? If we go down this road, do you think there's fatigue kicking in the sense of, where, and that's not to name anyone or companies, whatever, but you get like periods where you get floods of webinars, don't you? These free hacks will put you on a desert island, change your life. And where do you think this is going for the community? Do you think they're going to get fatigued by this?
I mean, I want to say yes, because people do get fatigued by things, hence why email marketing doesn't work nearly as well as it used to.
Yeah.
However, I'm still blown away at how effective some of these marketing tactics are. Even when I think there's no possible way that people are going to respond to that, they still do.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, maybe they'll get fatigued, but maybe, I mean, maybe there's enough of them out there to keep these, how should I say, substanceless webinars and this substanceless webinar approach afloat. I don't like it. It kind of sucks, because then it leaves like guys like you and me. We have to ask, have you heard of this guy before? I'm thinking about attending this webinar, but is it going to be a waste of my time? You know, and it's like such a gamble.
I got an email this morning. I won't name anything, but it was basically to head over to Canton. He wants to expand his company, and he's stuck on the idea, and he's like, shall I spend $6,000 with this company and go over to China, $4,500 for this company, or should I go by myself? And my answer was, well, you missed out the third option. Like, I like going to the events to meet people in person. I've always been very clear of that, and it speeds up the whole process of finding your supplier. But rather than saying pick option 1 or 2, I gave them an article that I'd done, which I think you featured in, was about 8,000 words on going yourself. So it gives him a third option now to choose from, and all the steps you need to take, visas, hotels, everything you need if you wanted to attend it. And the other option was, have you thought about finding and testing maybe a couple of sourcing agents? So his original question was, do I spend $5 or $6,000 here, or $3,000 to $4,000 here? But I gave him an alternative to that to, probably confused his thinking. But I often get emails like that. And you have to be honest, and just say to them, it's like, well, what's going to work best for you? Because think about it logically, right? If he goes to Canton, which I encourage everyone to go to at the right time, at the right stage in your business development, then go. But then there's, on the flip side, that's not till April. So he could spend all the time now, between now and April, to plan for Canton. Or he can go and find a sourcing agent and select one out of 1 or 2, road test a couple. And while it's going to be a quiet period this next few months, he could be up and running with new products by April if he starts that process now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that going to a sourcing fair is a great way to find products and suppliers, but I definitely would never tell anybody that they need to wait to do that before they get this whole process started. Yeah. That's for sure. There are way too many other resources.
Cool. So let's round up on these hacks. Where are we, and where's your thought process with this?
Okay. So the first thing I want to reiterate, I guess, in closing, is there is no magic bullet. There are hacks, though. There are loopholes that are found through experience. A lot of experienced sellers run into them because they're familiar with the landscape. They know where all the twists and turns are. So when they see a new door and they open it, something new. Or you might just stumble into one, and then you have somebody that's not quite an expert, but they found something. But, and when things like that come up and you can take advantage of them without breaking the terms of service, yeah, that's a legitimate hack you should do. But 9 times out of 10, those hacks are going to help you little by little, just like good marketing will help you little by little. Yeah. It's never going to be a cliff, though. You're not going to fall off of something, accidentally and then be rich. Like that's kind of the way a lot of these experts sell it to you, but that's just not the reality of it. It's, good marketing fundamentals. Put your ear to the ground so that you can hear when those new, things you could take advantage of come about, and inch your way across the finish line. And stop waiting for the finish line to come to you. That's kind of, in closing, what I would say. 95%
of what we do is locked in, isn't it? It's standardized. That's what we need to do. They're the protocols. And then the 5% changes. So new loopholes appear, new hacks appear, and they also disappear at rapid rates. I mean, I look back at flick through some of the seller sessions that we've done, and they date faster than you expect, because you go, well, that don't work no more. That doesn't work no more, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, but if you really pay attention to those things that don't work anymore, like usually those are small things, right? Like
Yeah.
putting 5,000 characters in your back end search terms don't work anymore. But that doesn't mean that you don't have keywords that need to be put back there to index anymore. Or using the full phrase doesn't work anymore, but you still have to put keywords back. So it's like a lot of it is like it's attached to fundamentals, right? Like you still take these actions, just how you take them, it shifts a little bit,
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
you just have to experiment and A/B test and figure out what works for you, unless you happen to have somebody you trust.
Let's wrap it there, mate. We'll get you back in again soon. How can people reach you?
I'm trying this new thing, right? People don't read email anymore, so I'm like really trying to communicate with people via Messenger. So if you look up unofficial Anthony Lee, that's my Facebook page. You can message me. I will message you back. I got a little like one of those little messenger bots. I don't spam or anything. I just use that to like send messages out to people and got some free stuff.
I like to, when I get the messenger bots, I like to just spin off loads of text to see what spits back at me and how they've set up their protocols for it, just to piss the bot off a little bit. But
I don't have any keyword stuff set up though for that. Like literally it's just there so I could send people like a PDF or, hey, I wrote a new book. Here it is. So that's how you reach me.
Excellent. Cool. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back again soon. Take care, Anthony.